Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest Gunners Town podcast. It's me, Chris, Suburban Gooner, Chris, or just Suburban Gooner if you like, coming to you with the latest Arsenal ramblings. And today I'm joined by a very special friend, Mark King. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Chris.
You're all right.
Football friend. I'm good, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite.
Mark is joining us because I said I really, really want to bring you on after such a fantastic game. So we're going to talk about Villa tonight. And joining us on that is the man himself, Shewell. How are you doing, Gav? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So let's chuck the absolute grenade in Mark's direction, given that it's his first time on, so that you can talk about Man City for about 30 seconds, if you like, Mark. But then I want you to give me some initial impressions on what we witnessed last night. At the time of recording, it's Wednesday night here, so it was Tuesday, and that was the Aston Villa game.
Yeah, well, I mean, plenty has been said about Man City, but I think if you take the Man City game and then you look at the Villa game last night, you've kind of got Arsenal in a nutshell. This is under, 3 managers now. We are still capable of putting in a performance like the Man City game, where everything worked. The game plan was great. The players all pulled together and played well, and it was a magnificent performance and result. And then you go to the Villa game, whereby I think it's slightly different, because obviously I don't think he would have had a game plan as much set out for the Villa match as he did for the City game, because obviously we were playing Villa, and he was resting several players because of the amount of games we've played. So I don't necessarily think he had a particular game plan for last night, but you can see that, again, regardless of it being Wenger or Emery or Arteta, we are capable of being sublime and ridiculous. And last night, unfortunately, was really as far down the scale to the ridiculous end as you can get. It was really, really poor performance all round, I thought.
Yeah, it weren't great, was it? And Gav, so a lot of people I've seen on the socials have been giving Arteta some pelters over his squad selection. Are you on the pelters bandwagon, or do you think he had to do it because of the energy that was expended against Man City?
I don't just think it was a Man City game. I think you've got to take into consideration the Tottenham game, the Liverpool game, and the Man City game, which is 3 big games on a trot. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not sure which 2 out of the 3 I would have preferred to have won. But yeah, no, I think it had to be done, really. I think he had to do that many changes, and Torreira hasn't had a lot of game time, so he started with him, and he got pulled off at half time because, let's be honest, he was dog shit the whole game. He was dog shit the whole half.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not overly bothered. It would have been nice to have relegated Villa, because I don't particularly like Aston Villa.
No.
But so it would have been nice to relegate them. But we've still got the opportunity by putting out the under-18s against Watford, getting spanked 10-0, and relegating them that way. So we can still do them. We can still do them Brommies. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I was to go to your question, Chris. I was not overly surprised. I was possibly expecting even Laka to be on the bench as well, to be fair. But I weren't surprised about the setup. Weren't surprised at all.
I don't think I was surprised about the that he was going to rotate. I think I was a bit flummoxed with some of his decisions and some of the playing positions. So, for example, Eddie Nketiah playing as an inside right forward. Can somebody explain to me if they've ever seen that and whether or not it worked? Mark, you can go on that one then. Eddie Nketiah, have you ever seen it? And do you think it even remotely worked last night?
No, and I haven't seen it, and I don't think it did. I mean, obviously we're asking Aubameyang to play, wider as like an inside forward, as it were, or outside forward. So Eddie has got to learn to adapt his game, but I think what we've got to remember is that was probably forced on him by Reece Nelson's injury. So I think if Reece had been fit, he'd have started in that role, because it's where Reece gets a chance to play more often than not. So I think it was forced upon him. But the thing was, it didn't work, and it was fairly obvious that it wasn't working quite soon into the game. So it took some time before we made any change. I mean, I'm not sure how long Pepe got. Probably about 20 minutes before he came on.
So, yeah.
Didn't really make a huge amount of difference either, to be fair. So knocking Eddie, yeah, he didn't have a great game, but he's a kid. Pepe, the £72 million signing, got 20 minutes and didn't really look to do much either, to be fair.
Where do you both stand actually on Pepe? Because I've had a mate who was WhatsApping me, and he decided that he was going to WhatsApp every single Arsenal mate that he's got and say, is Pepe worth 72 million quid? So he's got a load of people, obviously, after last night when he's had 20 minutes saying not really, or give him time, or wherever it is. What's your thoughts on Pepe so far?
I think he's shown glimmers, like he's shown little tiny parts every now and then of absolute genius.
Careful. You don't want him showing his tiny parts. Hold on.
His little part. Well, he's just had a baby as well, so his parts are getting well used. But he's he's shown in glimpses that he can do it. The cut inside and goals, the free kicks, the way he sometimes gets the ball and runs it on, and you've also got to look at the amount of assists, or even though I hate the stats of assists and goals, it's not too bad for a first season in England for a French player. So you've got to hope that. I know it's extremely big boots that we're trying to sort of imitate here, but if you compare his first season with the amount of goals and assists for players like Henry and Perez, he actually compares very, very favourably. The problem is this his ceiling? Is he gonna go and push on? So for a first season, I'm quite happy, but if he produces another season like this, then I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I love Pepe. I think he's a great footballer. I think he's being instructed to play a certain way. I think there's not many footballers that came out of the Emery regime this season with any kind of real credit, if you think about it. And that's why we're in the position that we're in. I'm not buying any of this nonsense that I've seen across Twitter where some people have decided to go agendas on the fact that the first 19 games of Arteta's reign are not as good as the first 19 at Emery's. Well, Arteta took a team that was literally on its knees confidence-wise, and he's had injuries, he's had red cards, and we've had a global pandemic chucked in there just for good measure. So I think that Arteta is doing a good job. I think what he's done is he's given Pepe a certain style, and he's asked him to adapt his style as a result. Pepe is a counter-attacking wide forward who did the business at Lille, and now he's being asked to, at times he was being asked to have chalk on his boots on the right wing. He's been asked to do a lot more tracking back than he's ever been used to. So I think 8 goals and 9 assists is a pretty good return, and I think he's going to be mustard and good next season. Mark, are you on the positive bandwagon, or are you?
I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not on the negative bandwagon. I feel really, really sorry for the guy. He comes to Arsenal with a huge price tag. He's walked into a club that, let's be honest, was probably in disarray fairly quickly into his time here. The manager who bought him, or not bought him, depending on who actually sealed the deal for Pepe, has gone. He's had a short stint under Freddie, and now he's got Arteta. He's got a wife who's pregnant and now had a baby, and then you get the biggest sort of medical crisis to hit the globe for years that's stopped football and has made everything so just unrecognisable from what we used to. So I feel really sorry for the guy, and I think for people to be having a go at him, I think that that's a little bit knee jerk. Yeah, you can watch him, and what I don't want is to be reminded of Gervinho, because Gervinho was the kind of player that you could watch and you could sort of think, what, I'm not convinced whether you're actually good or you're just really shit, and you get away with so much stuff because not even you know what you're doing, let alone the defenders who are facing you. I don't want him to end up going down that road, but I can see how he warrants some criticism that he's had, but also on the other hand, it's a really tough time to come into the club. And as you say, his stats aren't actually that bad, But I think he's one of those players, and I think we saw it with Ozil as well. The way Ozil was, didn't really help people not get on his back about his teamwork and ethic and contribution. And that, I think, you could maybe look at Pepe and say he not similar to Ozil, but I think his body language, his way of playing, he's not a bust a gut guy, like maybe you'll see with other players who will then get away with it with fans. He's someone who the way he plays leaves him a little bit open to criticism, and it just makes it easy for people to have a pop at him.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. So I'm going to shift us on just a little bit, away from Pepe just for a second. Let's talk about Cedric. And the reason why I wanted to talk about Cedric after Pepe, because he's another player that, we basically didn't see until after the COVID situation. And we find ourselves now in a position where we've got ourselves this guy. And I don't know whether or not what I saw last, Gav, I'll defer to you in a second. But what I saw last night was what looked like a decent enough right back that has a certain way of playing football and gets the ball, puts it out wide, gets balls into a box. It was very, very simple, wasn't it? The style. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Cedric?
I just think he's just. I think he's just vanilla.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to particularly love him. I don't think I'm ever going to particularly hate him. I don't think he's going to ever particularly let us down.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever going to win us games. And he probably had, over the last, I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, he probably had at least 4 or 5 chances to put the ball in the box.
Yeah,
and
he had 11 crosses last night, and not one of them met an actual target. Although, to be fair, it didn't seem like we had many people into the box. So that tells its own story.
Was that 11 by Cedric or 11 as a team?
Yeah, from Cedric.
11, yeah. Well, I think that kind of sums it up. And I mean, I was sort of sitting there thinking, why are we constantly putting high balls in the box? And, Villa was sitting there. And to be fair, to go back to what Mark said earlier with regards to how good we was against Man City was how bad we was against Villa. How good we defended against Man City was almost as how good as Villa defended against us. So you almost can't have it in with both hands. Do you know what I mean? We're going to appreciate a fine defensive performance by us, you've got to appreciate at the same time a fine defensive performance by the team we're playing against. But I don't think the quality of the balls that Cedric was putting in gave anybody a chance. I think there was one header that hit the post, wasn't it? And I'm not even sure whether that was Cedric that put that one in. But there was just too many balls that were just lumps in the middle. And if we had someone like that French person who plays for Chelsea, who we're not going to mention, right? If we had someone like that in the middle, then we might have got a couple. But they was pointless balls. We're not an in-the-air team. I didn't understand it.
Gav, can I just ask you then for that question? For that ball which Nketiah headed onto the post, a lot of people saying that that should have been a goal and that was on Nketiah and he really should have finished that. I thought that was quite a difficult chance. What did you think?
I think it's incredibly difficult, to be fair.
Yeah.
He's probably the smallest bloke in the box. He's managed to get his head on it and he's glanced it. And literally, I mean, you look at the difference in the angle. It was, it was millimeters the other side of his head, and that would have been in the bottom corner. So, you can't blame him for that. You can't blame him for that at all. But like I say, I just think it was just consistent bad balls into the box when we had a chance. Just consistent bad balls. And
Mark, so are you with Gav there? Do you think that was just a difficult chance from Nketiah? And then my next question for you is, just give me a general synopsis as to what went wrong in terms of our build-up play. Because, again, I think this is probably a creativity question that I'd like you to just elaborate on, if that's all right.
Yeah, sorry, the first bit. So Eddie, Eddie's not the tallest and he's not the strongest. He's still a young kid in effect. So I thought he did well to even get anything on the header, and he was unlucky, as Gav says, a few millimetres either side of the post, and that actually goes in. So I thought he did well, and I'm not going to dig him out when you've got 2 far better strikers who didn't really do much at all in the game. They were fairly anonymous. These are the guys that people need to be sort of thinking, are we actually getting value out of, rather than digging out Eddie. Then going on to what the problem was. Well, I think it's I think one of the issues we had last night, and it only got worse once Louise went off, is that when we have the ball at the back, Louise can pass. He can come out from the back and he can hit a pass. Mustafi not so. Mustafi's very good at hitting long diagonal balls from where he is over to the left wing. Short passing, he can be pretty poor. So then when you haven't got Mustafi at all, when you then take Louise off, either side of him early doors we had Holding and Kolasinac. Now, Lee said about Kolasinac about the guy is shot, confidence is gone. Just he's just bringing absolutely nothing to this team at the moment. So he needs to just not appear for Arsenal ever again in the history of the club, not even in a fucking Legends tournament of some sort. And Rob Holding, while I like Rob Holding, he worries me. He tried stepping out of the defence against Liverpool and he got caught out and lost the ball at least once, and I'm not sure about his passing either. So we had nothing really from the back. And then Torreira had a nightmare. It's a really, really poor game. Ceballos, I like Ceballos. He picks up the ball. He's always trying to turn. He generally is always trying to get forward and look for a pass. But he's got to have options for those passes. And I think, he's not getting that so much at the moment. I mean, he's making some really good passes like the one through to Saka for the cross for the Leicester goal. But you then look at second half when Arteta realises that Torreira's having a mare and he's on a yellow, so he brings on Xhaka, which I think most people wanted. Even me, who doesn't like Xhaka, I thought, we need to get him on. And even again, he's like, there's just too much sideways passing. And, it's like we're used to watching that because, when it was the days of the latter stages of Arsene Wenger, very used to that. Teams knew how we wanted to play. They'd happily let us have the ball and they would let us pass that ball backwards and forwards across the arc of boredom, as we called it. But we had decent players then in midfield, players who could pass the ball.
Penetrate.
Yeah. Now, we haven't. Xhaka doesn't really hit that many key passes, in my opinion. Ceballos is not doing it that much, to be honest. Torreira didn't do it at all and was just really off. I mean, I know he's only just back and, not match fit at all, so we'll give him some leeway there. But no, I just don't think there was, and we've said about it, and of course it reared the ugly head of Mesut Ozil again, didn't it? That we really, last night, there was no creativity. Now, having a lack of creativity when you're playing the game plan that you're doing against Liverpool or against Man City is not so bad, because you're looking to catch them on the break and that. But when you're the team that's going to have all the possession, that's when you've got to create, and we're just not at that level. Our midfielders are not at that level, and our defenders coming out from the back are not at that level either, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I would 100% echo with that. One of the most frustrating things from my perspective last night was the countless number of times that I saw either Kolasinac or Holding pick up the ball. So Louise would spread the ball to them. And one of the things I would say about Mustafi is he will look forward for a distribution. He would look forward for a pass. I did not see that at all from Holding or Kolasinac. And what it does is you get Louise, and if he's not pinging longer balls forward, if he's just spraying it sideways 5-10 yards to his mates either side of him, all that's going to happen is he's going to come back to them. And we do that backwards and forwards. And what it does is it just slows down the games. It allows teams like Aston Villa to just set themselves and say, right, well, let's just have bodies then. I mean, when we then press the ball forward and we're on sort of the edge, that arc of boredom that you're talking about, Mark, I watched a couple of times. There were 9 Aston Villa shirts in their own box, and all they said was, we know you don't have creativity. We know that you're not, like, we didn't have not just creativity but runners as well. So creativity isn't just everyone thinks that you put Mesut Ozil in that team or even peak Mesut Ozil and he's going to be threading through balls. Well, yeah, maybe he might be, but you've actually got to have players that are going to run onto those through balls, and there wasn't that movement at all last night, and that's what I think we need to see more of. Gav, where do you stand on, because we haven't really asked you a question about the defensive side, so thoughts on, you can talk about either Holding or Kolasinac or Louise, you can talk about formation, you can talk about the goal if you want to, because I thought that was pretty poor from another set piece.
Yeah, no, we need I like Tierney. I like Berlin. And we've just got to fill in the gaps between them, basically. I just, completely. I mean, Louise is okay if you play him in a free. I understand why he got pulled off as well, because I'm sitting there thinking he's going to get another red card and that'll be the end of his season. Mark was completely right with Glasnatch. I'm hoping Chambers comes back fit at some stage whenever he's due back, because I think the formation like that might suit him. But the long and the short of it is, if we're going to go back to playing like a 4-4-2, which we sort of breezed into in the second half when we was a goal down, we haven't got the centre backs that are going to be able to handle with that. They're going to be able to handle that against top teams. I understand why he did it, and the most interesting thing I thought was when we got to literally, I think it was like the last 10 minutes, and we almost played how we did back at Highbury, with literally 2 centre backs, 2 central midfielders, and everybody else bombing forwards. And the only problem with that is, we didn't have players like Campbell and Toure and Adams and Keown and Vieira and Petit, but it was just nice to see that sort of. It was almost like Arteta's got that as like the last gasp, what they call in some sort of American sports, Hail Mary, where he's got sort of like what they called on the box, which is basically a square of 2 centre backs and 2 central midfielders, and everyone else being attacking. So I liked that Arteta has that plan in his locker for games that are going down to the wire that we're losing in. I sort of respected that, but when it comes down to our defenders, let's be honest, would any of them get in the team 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Do you know what I mean? It needs a complete whole, a complete rebuild, really, a complete and utter rebuild. And as we probably alluded to here on the past, the only reason we're playing 3 at the back is he ain't got 2 we can trust.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Do you think next season, let's fast forward to next season then, from a defensive point of view, Mark, I'll ask you this. Do you think Arteta will play 3 at the back because of, and let's assume he's got Saliba coming in. I think we can probably safely say that Socrates is done. Louise has signed a new contract. Chambers potentially coming back in. You've got Holding as well. He's got Pablo Murray. Do you see him continuing? Is he wedded to this 3 at the back? Or do you think he'll try and shift it to a 4?
I don't think he's wedded to it. I think he'll be, I think Arteta's going to be a manager who'll be fairly flexible, and will try and pick whatever formation he thinks will get him a result out of a game. So I think, if he feels that in some matches he needs to go 3 at the back, he'll do it. But I think his default mode would like to be the 4. But again, it comes down to the point that Gav's made. Tierney, I think we're all happy with Tierney. Bellerin hasn't come back too great, but he's only recently back up from a very bad injury. Seems to have lost a bit of pace, seems to have lost a little bit of physical strength, but we've got to give him a chance. Although, to be fair, he is one of our only players who might be worth a few quid, so that could be worth thinking about. Cedric, I think what Gav said about him being vanilla was a brilliant description of him. I don't think we've seen enough of him, to be fair. So we'll have to wait and see what he'll actually bring to the team. But he is struggling at the back, and I think, I feel again, and it's what worries me a little bit about Saliba is if the kid comes in, and he is only a kid, if he comes in having had sort of very short-term experience in the French league for Saint Etienne, and I think people are expecting him to be, the next Virgil van Dijk, and that's really, it's far too high an expectation, and it's really unfair on him. And with our fan base as well, we've got to be kind of careful that we don't, if he struggles to find his feet, that people are not getting on his back, because that's not really going to help a young kid. So I don't know. I would like to think he'll go with 4 at the back, but he's got to have, as Gav said, he's got to have 4 he can trust, and I'm not convinced at the moment that he has that. and you know, maybe with him giving Luiz the extra year. I mean, I think we can all see the benefits of having David Luiz from what we've heard, and possibly what you see as well, outside of just the 90 minutes of the game. So I get that, but I'm not convinced Luiz is going to work in a back four. I think he works in a three at the back as the sweeper, but I'm not convinced as a one of two centre halves. So I think Arteta's got his work cut out at the back, but to be fair, he's got his work cut out all over the team. So
he does.
He's got a really big job on his hands, and whilst I know that, because we haven't mentioned, I didn't know whether we were going to. Whilst we saw the banner last night
let's talk
about
banner now,
backing Arteta. I mean, the question, the thing is, on a very basic level, we have spent a lot of money. Stan Kroenke has released a lot of funds. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of Stan Kroenke. I don't want to go anywhere near the club, but he's released a lot of funds. All those funds of which were profits made by the club, hence us being self-sustaining. But he has released a lot of money. It's been spent badly in the main by, you know, at least two managers and at least a couple of executives who are also involved in decision making. But the issue is now that we haven't got any money. You know, we're not making a profit anymore because of the decline of the club, and obviously the what COVID's done to football on the whole. So I think the message that, whilst it might not be the right way to deliver that message, and I don't think anyone still has a clue who did it or whether there's anything behind it or whether it was just a one-off thing, I don't know. But the message is quite key. We do need to see that Stan Kroenke will do something to generate some money for Arteta to spend. Now, whether some of that will be through the refinancing of the bonds, we'll have to wait and see. You know, but that didn't sound like it was going to free up a huge amount of money. You know, enough for a decent centre half's right leg, maybe. But so I think this will be interesting. Arteta needs to be able to make some changes, and he needs the money to be able to do that, unfortunately. And also, we need to trust some of the kids. But again, you go on Twitter and you see some of the comments that are made about, you know, people like Willock, people like Nelson, and Eddie, to a certain extent. People already saying that they're not at Arsenal's level.
Yeah. Gav, I'm just going to let you have a quick one on the banner. And does it make us come across as a bit of a Mickey Mouse football club when we've got fans? We seem to be the only fans that are willing to get planes up in the sky. Oh no, actually, sorry, Burnley fans. Let's not forget those. And their discretion. Does that particular banner make us look a little bit Mickey Mouse? Is the first question. And then we've just come out to the last sort of 3 or 4 minutes. So let's just quickly look ahead at Watford as well. So so 2 questions. Number 1, does the banner make us look a bit Mickey Mouse? And number 2, is Watford the worst dead rubber that you've ever known as an Arsenal fan?
Right, okay, question 1, the banner. I could probably do about an hour on that, to be fair, without even breathing. I understand every supporter's got the right and every fan's got the right to actually display and vent how they feel about it. I thought the wording wasn't particularly right on the banner. I would have gone for something like back Arteta, please, Kroenke. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not going to get rid of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, well, but yeah, and like I say, as possibly the pair of you know, I've been involved in talking to supporters groups this year and last year, and we've done a joint statement last year under the headline of We Care to You, which pretty much united the fan base as well. I've spoke to people already this year with regards to let's wait till the season's finished, because you can't be making bold statements before you know where the season's ended. So to me, putting that banner up when we've got a cup final in 2 weeks' time is fucking Mickey Mouse. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't be doing that. And I appreciate whoever done it and whoever put their money in. Good luck to you, but that wouldn't have been my choice. That makes all of us look like fucking muppets, right? So the time really, and like I say, again, I've been involved in shit like this for about or Mark will back me up, 8-9 years, Mark.
Yeah.
Right. So I've kind of got a little bit of experience of when the right time is to do stuff. And the right time to do stuff ain't when we've just beaten bloody Liverpool and Man City and we're in a cup final. That ain't the time to do it. Do you know what I mean? You're fucking crazy. Anyways, so that's that. Against Watford, the biggest dead rubber that we've had. Possibly not. There was quite a few in the.
We've had so many in the last
there's
15
been
years.
quite a few, haven't there? Do you know what I mean? I mean, you go back to sort of like the late 80s when we was out the cups and you couldn't even qualify for Europe. Thank you very much, Liverpool. And then you go to sort of like the end ones of 94, 95 as well, when there's a few league games that didn't really matter. The main thing is we can either win and relegate Delaney, right? Or we can lose badly and relegate Villa. And I'm bloody well happy. Whatever happens, I'm happy. As long as we don't draw and both of them stay up. Do you know what I mean? That would be the nightmare scenario. I want to see Delaney crying, or I want to see Villa fans crying. That's what I want. And I want no injuries. And I mean, potentially play the under-18s. Fuck it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'm sure Troy Dean in his cojones will be thinking something else. But Mark, the biggest dead rubber ever, just as we wrap up today's pod?
Well, do you know
will you even watch it? Will you even watch it?
Yeah, of course I watch it, yeah. But I mean, I'm to be perfectly honest, right? I know there's a lot of people who went, last night it don't really matter, because we're in the cup final and that. We have to be a little bit careful about putting all our eggs in one basket here, League position, we're not going to get into Europe, yeah. So if we want to get into Europe, and trust me, going back to the point I was talking about earlier, we need the money. If people don't think Arsenal need every single penny they can get, then they're deluded, because we do. We need every single penny we can get. So whether European football, Europa League football is a pain in the arse, playing on Thursdays and home games on a Sunday and all that, I don't care. We need to be in Europe for the money. And, that's why I got really fucking annoyed about last night, because we needed those 3 points. If we'd have got the 3 points last night, we'd have been sitting reasonably pretty for going into Sunday's games,
a bit of pressure on. We would have put a bit of pressure on, wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. They'd have still been looking behind them at us and thinking, they've beaten Villa, now they've got Watford at home. We could have put a lot of pressure on them, and we could have nicked a place and had a place, and then just relaxed for the cup final, rather than now, if we want European football, we've got to win that cup final. That's just an extra bit of pressure on the cup final that maybe we didn't need. In terms of Sunday, I don't know. What one school of thought will say, play the kids. Another school of thought is, look, play the team that you're going to pick against Chelsea the following week, and take the risk. Give them the run out. Momentum. Make plenty. You've got 5. The good thing we've got now is we've got 5 subs, so you could bring players off. And give them sort of, an hour, a half or an hour, and then take a few of them off, so there are players who need a rest. Aubameyang needs a rest, 100% he needs a rest. So, I don't know. I'd rather that Arteta's torn them out, all of them, every single one of them, a new arsehole last night, and that he will play the team on Sunday that he wants to start in the cup final, and he will tell them, play this game, play properly. I don't want to repeat of Tuesday night's bollocks. If you're not interested, then you can fuck off next Saturday, and I'll put someone else in the team instead of you. I know a lot of people think, well, there is only one team that we can play. The same team that more or less started against City, bar Mustafi's injury. Yeah. So I don't know. I would pick them, and I'd say, right, you fucking actually, don't you all think that your place is safe? No, bollocks. You play for your place now today. You let me down, someone else is going to get a chance, because I'm, and they should see it, because he's fucked Ozil off, he's fucked Guendouzi off, so he should do the same thing now. And I would play the full team and make some subs, and just go give the fans the chance to go out on a high at the stadium. I know.
Yeah, I think laying down a marker, I think is an important thing. So lads,
and it's good for your confidence as well. Do you know what I mean? If we did play the kids, And Watford are going to scrap for their lives. And you know what? And they're a big, strong team. They might not be the best, hence why they're in so much trouble. But they're a big, strong team. You send a load of kids out, they could get beat by that Watford team. And losing to Villa and losing to Watford is not the two results you want behind you going into a cup final against Chelsea.
I think that's a good point there, Mark. And we are out of time, lads, for the evening. So thank you very, very much, Mark, for joining us. Gav, as always, thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed it tonight, although
Cheers,
not
Chris.
actually the results themselves. But onwards and upwards, up the Arsenal, and we'll see you again next time.
Up the Arsenal.